What happened this morning? Yes. What happened this morning are security operations that you are not very much concerned about them.
Thank you.
Yes. Our Air Force have bombarded Nasir this morning. Kalaska fire? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Huh? Ugandan UDF.
Yes.
UPDF. UPDF forces have not been here in South Sudan. They just came recently. الأحداث الأخيرة لا علاقة لها بالحرب في السودان. لا علاقة لها مع الحرب في السودان. مش دي إجابة؟ Okay. Vulnerable people who are in hostile areas is their concern. You are supposed to keep away from hostile areas. So when the bombardment happens, it happens to the forces. And you, if you happen to be there within the forces, then there is nothing we can do about you. But if you are in the town, outside the forces, nothing will reach you. Who is answerable now for all the bombardments that are happening all over the world? Take Israel. Who is answerable for the bombardments that are happening to the Arabs in what do you call it? In Gaza?
But it's affecting the civilians.
Well, the civilians need to keep away from this area. Are you with us? If you are not with us, then what is happening in Israel, between Israel and the Palestinians in Gaza is happening there. But for us here, we are giving a stern warning now, because the bombardment that happened last night, it happened in the White Army, the so-called White Army areas. It has not touched any civilians.
Okay, Honorable, you just...
That is the end of our talk. Thank you very much. This pact talks about protection of the people, the government, and the territorial integrity. This is a pact. And it is not only South Sudan, which is the only country, it is all over the world. It is all over the world, and this is why you see forces being moved from place to another. Like these forces, the American forces who are traveling all over the world. Do they travel circuit? But they travel based on the pacts that are signed. So that is what I can tell you about it. The other thing is, which is also another question lingering in your minds. If you remember it very well, there was the summit, the IGAD summit started last week. And one of the resolutions is that they resolved that the detainees in South Sudan should be released if there is no sufficient evidence against them. Yes, there are people who are detained. And these people, some of them are constitutional post holders, others are not. Those who are constitutional post holders, their immunity has been lifted and they are there to be investigated. They will be investigated and brought to books. Because we cannot condone anybody who is within the government and working hard to overthrow the very government in which he is a party. This cannot happen. This cannot happen at all. You either rebel and go back to the bush so that we follow you, or you be with us and we implement the agreement in letter and spirit. This is the situation, and this is what we need to be clear, so that people do not... So anybody who is not that only, even the IO, they have written, they have requested the release of these people. Why should they be released at a time when they are not yet investigated? They should go undergo investigation, and if there is no case, they will be set free. This is the situation in which we are now. So, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, I have only 3 or 4 points. The White Army that claims to be civilians and who have decided to take up arms against the government must go back to their respective homes and barracks before we take any action, because we don't want later people to come and say the government is killing the civilians. Meanwhile, the civilians have killed the army. Despite all this, I'm appealing from here to all the White Army who claim to be civilians to go back to their home areas and to their locks. Any civilian who is in the military zone and refusing to leave that military zone will be treated accordingly. So, the White Army is advised, seriously advised, to vacate those places and go back home. The White Army is advised to vacate Nasir as of now, and all their assembly areas of the display of the White Army must be cleared. If you continue to stay in those areas, then you are a negative force. You are a negative force, and the necessary force will be used against you. This is a message to the White Army and all others who have got other names. For the Nas Defense Force, which is now a declared rebellion, we will deal with them accordingly. There is no way we can talk to people who have decided to take up arms against their own government. So that is the situation. That is the point. This White Army or the Nuer Defense Force, I don't know what are their objectives, but their objectives, of course, are clear. It is not actually for the North as such, because this is the same experience. Events do repeat themselves, I don't know, in the eyes of the IO. Because when the White Army started, it has started actually in 1991 or 2. And then it continued to develop up to 2013. The White Army continued, and it is continuing up to now. It is this White Army who later turns and transforms itself into so many colors. And now it is transforming from the White Army to the Nuer Defense Force. I'm sure it will not stop there. It will transform itself into another negative force in the near future. The objective is not the liberation of the Nas area, because Nas area starts from the east up to west. It crosses across South Sudan border, South Sudan. Unless you want to create so many countries in South Sudan. Because if you start from Bentiu, from Nasir, you come this way to Jonglei. From Jonglei, you pass through, you cross up to Fanjak, and from Fanjak, you cross to Bentiu. This is Nuer land, and this is North land. Now you want to create a defense force to defend North land. What about the rest of the land? You are leaving it for whom? Are we tribalized to that extent? We are not tribalized to that extent. And as such, this Nas Defense Force is not meant to be the protection of Nuer land as such. But it has other ultra objectives. Just like what happened when the IO had its first, when it established at Pagak. It did not start as IO. It started as a defense force or a White Army for that matter. Then it transformed itself into SPLMA-IO. into SPLM, SPLA, and then it later became SPLM-IO. That is the situation, and this is what I can see in this situation. This scenario is repeating itself, but it will not repeat itself this time. So my advice to the White Army and the Nuer Defense Forces is let them disperse. Let them disperse if they are a civilian. If they are civilians, then let them disperse. If they are not civilians, then we will deal with them accordingly. And for that matter, the White Army or the Nuer Defense Force, all these are negative forces and should be declared terrorist organizations. They should be declared terrorist organizations. Their actions qualify them to be declared terrorist organizations. And for that matter, I am calling upon the African Union, the IGAD, the East African Community, and the UN to declare this force as negative forces, as terrorist forces that are negative and not serving the interests of the people of South Sudan. This request will continue and will follow it to the end, and will make sure that they are declared terrorists. Because who is a terrorist after all? Terrorist is somebody who is not bound by any law and who is not respecting any principles, and he behaves anyhow. That is the person we call a terrorist. Secondly, the threats that are being written in the social media by the North group are unfounded, and they cannot affect us in the performance of our functions and duties. We'll go ahead and we'll continue to deal with them accordingly. My message to the media houses, and I said it at the beginning, you need to be accurate, responsible, and act according to your professional ethics. Act according to your professional ethics. Don't participate in the spread of lies and the spread of negative attitude and approaches that affect human beings. These are not in favor of the media houses. These are not in favor of your own media house or your personality as a journalist. A journalist is somebody who is responsible and respects himself and acts according to his professional ethics. Anybody beyond that is not. So a day may come when we may even decide to screen you like what the Bar Association did. If you continue like this, we will screen you like what the Bar Association did. You know what the Bar Association did. I'm saying this